Hello everyone, once again, welcome back to this series where I track the changes between the Shadow and Bone TV show and the books on an episode by episode basis. If you'd like to see the highlighted changes in episodes 1 to 5, do check out my Shadow and Bone playlist. When Alina escapes in the books, there is no assumption that she was kidnapped. What everyone knew to be true was that she escaped. Of course, it was only the relevant people who were made aware of that, as the Darkling didn't want to cause any panic or look like he has lost control. In the show, however, the Darkling assumes that Alina was kidnapped by the crew and refuses to even consider Zoya's suggestion that Alina might have simply ran off instead and wasn't kidnapped. Like I said in the episode 4 video, in the books, Nina never has any interaction with the Darkling. In fact, she never gets the chance to meet him. The Grisha she does actually know and answer to is someone else entirely. In the show, however, not only does she answer to the Darkling, but she's actually the Darkling spy, tasked with finding out everything about the conductor who has been helping Grisha, who don't want to fight in the Darkling's war, out of the palace. In the books, Nina is kidnapped after she wanders away from the Grisha camp, and we are told that the other Grisha spend the time looking for her. In the show, however, Fedor is tasked by the Darkling to find Nina and bring her home. It bears repeating that neither Fedor nor the Darkling are people that Nina interacted with in the book. In the show, we get confirmation that Zoya and the Darkling used to be lovers, which further confirmed the animosity that Zoya exhibited towards Alina. She was upset that the Darkling was becoming enamored with Alina Starkov. In the books, it is implied that Zoya had a thing for the Darkling, but we never got any confirmation that it was more than a crush on her part. Instead, animosity seemed to stem from the fact that she wanted the Darkling but couldn't have him. And then here comes this upstart who 2 weeks prior had no powers and was now clearly someone that the Darkling wanted and was clearly attracted to. In the books, the first time Mal runs into Alina after she was taken from the camp when she first exhibited her power was at the feast after he had been in to see the Darkling. He sees her dressed in the black kefta with gold threading and was a jealous little shit, talking about how the Darkling is all over Alina and owns her, etc. We know the conversation was driven by his hurt that he was seemingly abandoned, but it was still a jealous rant from an absolute twat. Shomal, on the other hand, doesn't run into Alina at the palace, although he learns there, after killing Bagger's guard, of course, who was trying to kill him, that Alina had escaped, and so he tracks her. When they are reunited, he tells her he's been looking for her, that he found the stag for her, and that he's been writing her letters every day, and he doesn't make any reference to a lover's tiff between the Darkling and Alina, which is a marked and improved difference from what happened in the book. The scene in the show where Alina uses her Sun Summoner abilities to warm herself and Mal when they're on the run doesn't happen in the book. Instead, the first time Alina uses her powers in Mal's presence in the book was to light a fire so they can roast their dinner. Book Mal wasn't impressed at seeing Alina's abilities, but in the show, Mal's expression is of awe and consideration, not dismissal, and that is also a huge difference. Inej really went from not killing to killing 2 people in the show. This didn't happen in the books, or at least not in such rapid succession, but the inclusion of that second death, we can say, highlights the fact that Inej is a firm believer in her faith, but she will kill to protect those she loves if she has to. It also proved that the Inferni twins are chatty dumbasses because one dies wasting his time talking and taunting, and the other dies because she spills her grand plan for revenge like a mustard twirling James Bond villain. At this point, I'm becoming a broken record, but it bears repeating because this prequel with the crows didn't happen in the book. Jesper's very ingenious showdown with Ivan doesn't happen in the books. Although now I want that, I should have shot you in the head, you should have stopped while you are ahead, printed on a t-shirt. It goes without saying that Kaz and the Darklings meeting is purely fan service done for the show, including Kaz suddenly having Inej's Wraith-like abilities and disappearing, because clearly the show for that moment forgot that Kaz Brekker works with a limb. How did he escape so far? Anyway, in the books, the Darkling and Kaz never met. Their meeting in the show, however, is what finally makes the Darkling realize the truth. Alina wasn't kidnapped, she chose to leave. One of the main gripes I and so many others have about the Shadow and Bone books is that Alina doesn't have much agency for a large portion of the book. She rarely gets to take major decisions and instead has other people in the books making them for her. The show changed this as we see Alina declare that they should head north so she can get to Morozova's stag and take its amplifier ability for herself. In the book, Mal was the one who told Alina that he's taking her north so they can find the stag. This change from the book to the show is very important because the conversation in the show helps us to see that Alina actually wants the power for herself. She's the one that says the stag would make her powerful, and she states that it would make her powerful enough to destroy the fold. In the book, when Mal tells Alina that he's going to take her north after the stag, he says that the stag would make her powerful enough to fight the Darkling, which is a very different conversation from what happens in the the show. The Darkling's carriage being stolen wasn't in the book. That was show canon, same as David throwing a book at Jesper in a failed attempt at self-defense. In the books, we aren't really told exactly how the Darkling manages to track down Alina. It just happens. In the show, however, David informs the Darkling that he can track her down when he's within a certain distance to her because of the ring Genya gave Alina. Definitely an improvement on what happened in the book. Finally, in the show, when Alina lets slip the Darkling's real name, she starts to admit to the lapse she's had in her feelings. Mal, however, tells her that she doesn't need to give him any explanation. He just wants to keep her safe. This is once again different from the books, where Mal reacts 9 times out of 10 in a jealous snit when this is brought up, especially because the first time is told of the almost tryst between Alina and the Darkling. It isn't actually Alina that breaks the news to him. In the book, it is the Darkling who breaks that news.